Hello and welcome to your low back yoga practice. I'm Maria and I am here to guide you today through this short, sweet, gentle yoga flow that I love, and I've put together a few poses and postures that'll help with any low back tightness. If you have low back pain, please consult your doctor just before starting this to make sure you're able to do this, and maybe try this when you're not in actual pain at this very moment. This is something that is very dear to me just because I've dealt with low back pain my whole life, and I do truly believe in the healing power of yoga when it's practiced repeatedly. So with that being said, I encourage you to come back to this video as often as you need, come back to it daily, weekly, just to help with that low back tightness. And I'll also be putting out more low back yoga videos, so be on the lookout for those. We're just going to need a couple props today for today's practice. Blocks, yoga blocks if you have them, or anything that helps elevate the floor just a little bit. So books, DVDs, really anything that you have that's kind of sturdy. And then a blanket or a towel or a bolster. I'm using a towel, nothing fancy, just something to kind of provide a little bit of cushion. But let's get started. So today we're going to begin laying down. So make your way to lying. Nestle and wiggle your shoulder blades underneath your heart space. Palms face up. Bring your heels and your feet in towards your sits bones. And then option to bring the feet as wide as the mat. Wiggle them out and let the knees fall in. Take a big breath in here. And exhale to let it all out. We're going to bring our knees into our chest, and you're going to wrap your arms around your shins. If that's not accessible to you quite yet, you can bring your palms to your knees, let your shoulders drop onto the mat, and then let the weight of the elbows just kind of drop. And you can stay here finding that sweet spot. You can draw circles with your knees one way and then the other. You're just rocking side to side. If you're hugging your knees in here, you can grab your opposite forearms. You can interlace your fingers just to give you a little bit more space and just rock side to side, massaging that upper buttocks. Inhaling and sending that breath, that energy into your low back, so traveling down your spine. And exhale to let it all go. Pull your navel back in towards your belly. And then we're going to release here. Bring the soles of the feet back onto the ground. You're going to stay here and you're going to stretch your arms up above overhead. And as you do that, find a gentle curvature in your low to mid back, but don't try to curve too much, just let it be natural. And then moving into your upper back. We're going for that upper back opening here. And then exhale, sending your tailbone back down, bringing your low back flush against the mat again. We're going to do that a few more times on the inhale. You're going to lift your arms and then slight bend in your back, opening through the upper back as well, stretching through the belly. Exhale to slowly bring the mat flush up against the mat, maybe bringing the arms down or bending the elbows. Inhale, reach up, stretch through that belly. And then exhale, flush up against the mat. Move in whatever way feels good. Just a couple more times with your own breath here. Moving slowly and taking full deep breaths in and out through the nose. Just rocking the pelvis back and forth. Massaging that lower back and upper buttocks area. And then when you're ready, bring your arms back down by your sides. You're going to cross your right leg over your left thigh. And then inhale to bring your knees in towards your chest slowly. And go until wherever feels good. So don't try to bring your knees all the way into your chest. You might find a slight stretching in the outside of your right hip here. Grab onto your shins or ankles, and then just gently tug or pull those legs back in towards your center line. Back in towards your chest, so pull everything in. Your shoulders are flush up against the mat. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose here. And then on the next exhale, we'll release our hands, and then we'll release our legs over to the left side of the room. So let them fall onto the left side of your mat. Finding a gentle twist here in the upper back. Maybe your arms go out into a T. Keep that right shoulder grounded. Option to look over to the right. Inhaling into any area that feels tension. With every exhale, try to release a little bit of that tension. Finding space in the low back here. And then inhale, come back up to center. Untangle the legs, bring the right foot to the ground, and then cross the left leg, the left thigh over the right thigh. Pull your knees in towards your chest, grabbing your shins or your ankles or your feet, whatever feels good here, and just gently pulling it towards your body, towards your heart. Inhale, breathing into that left hip now, feeling that stretch. Sometimes our low backs get tight when we have tight hamstrings or tight hips. So finding a little release and a little space in those areas generally helps. And then when you're ready, on your next exhale, dropping your knees over to the right side of the room, bringing your arms out into a T. Keep that left shoulder grounded on the ground. Option to turn your head over to the left side of the room. We're going to stay here for a few breaths. Finding space in that low back. And then inhale, bring those legs back up, knees up to your heart. And then release both soles of the feet back onto the ground. We're going to rock here, but if you have any pain or if your lower back is speaking to you right now, you're going to just roll off onto one side and then sit up, push yourself up. Otherwise, we're going to rock back and forth. So bring your knees into your chest, and then with the momentum, just rock on your back, massaging through that lower back, through that upper back, whatever feels good. And then when you're ready, come back up and we'll meet in a seated position. You're going to cross the legs, whatever feels comfortable, and then bring the hands onto your knees. We're going to do some seated cat-cows here. So inhale, drop the shoulders away from the ears. Lift the chest up just slightly. Pull the elbows back. Pull your arms back from those knees. And then exhale, dip your chin, round through the upper back, and drop your head a little. Inhale, shoulder blades come to touch, your elbows come back. And then exhale, round through the back, shoulder blades come apart. Inhale, roll the shoulders up to your ears and then around and back. Different variation. Lift your chest. And then exhale to round through the upper back. Drop your chin to your chest. Feeling that stretch through the upper back. We're going to stay here for a couple of breaths. Feel the weight of your head drop. Maybe feeling a stretch through the upper back. Lower back is stable here. And then we're going to inhale, come back up to neutral, come back up to center. Great. We're going to rock forward, so just rock onto your knees, coming into a tabletop position. So wrists directly under your shoulders and your hips directly over your knees. And as we're coming into this, find some natural movement here. We're not going to stay here for long. When you're ready, we're going to carry that right foot or bring it, step it up in between your hands, coming into a low lunge. Curl the back toes and walk that back knee just a little bit until you're finding kind of that space and that stretch through this psoas. Right knee directly above your right ankle. Press down into your back toes. Option 2, lift the toes coming into a lifted knee high lunge. Or you can stay here. We're going to inhale, lift the chest. Option to bring blocks to help bring the earth up to you here, and this is where they come in handy. Sink your hips down into the floor. And then we're going to exhale, send your hips back over your left knee and straighten out through that front leg, lifting your toes, flexing your front foot back. Stretching through the right hamstring here. Make sure you're finding space, so don't curl over. Make sure your back is straight here, and maybe bring your blocks to help lift the ground up to you. Option to let the weight of the head drop. And we'll roll back through, bringing your front knee bent and returning to low lunge. We're going to step that right knee back to tabletop position and then bring your left foot or carry or step that left foot in between your hands. Again, option to use blocks to help bring the floor up to you. Curl the back toes under and walk that right back knee just a little bit to come into this low lunge on your other side. Left knee directly above your left ankle. And then inhaling to lift the chest. Exhale to sink just a little bit more into this low lunge. Option to lift the knee here. And on the next exhale, we'll roll back through, sending your hips back, straightening out through that front knee, lifting the toes, coming into this stretch on the other side. Tug that left hip back. And find space here, making sure the back is straight. And we'll roll back through, bending that left knee, returning to low lunge. Tuck the right toes, that back leg, lift that right back knee, and then step it forward to forward fold this time, bending the knees. Feet are hip width apart. You can heel toe the feet in or out. Keeping the knees bent here, relaxing your torso over your thighs, over your legs. Maybe holding opposite elbows here and rocking a little bit from side to side. Let the weight of the head just drop, let gravity take over. Reaching the crown of your head towards the ground. Feel your sits bones get heavy. And inhale in to feel that expansion in the low back when you do that. Bend your knees just a little more. Inhale. Send that breath into your low back. Feel that widening. And exhale to relax a little more. We're going to plant the hands, bend the knees deeply, and then drop the knees, sending the knees back, returning to tabletop position. Very gently here, crossing the ankles behind your hips, and then walking your hands back to send your hips over and behind your ankles. Returning to a seated position. You're going to scoot forward on your mat just a little. And we're going to make our way to lying. So if you want, you can just come onto the side and then roll over, or we can keep our knees bent here, extend our hands out, and slowly and gently, trying to not to bend the back too much, rolling on to the ground. And then we'll return to laying here, tucking the shoulder blades underneath the heart space, bringing the feet as wide as the mat here and letting the knees fall in. Inhale to take one big breath in and exhale to let it all go. Option to sigh it all out here. One more time, big inhale in and exhale to release. You're going to bring your knees into your chest. Bring your arms out into a T. And then gently let your knees drop over to your left side. Bringing your thighs and your hips parallel to your knees here. Maybe bring the legs out a little bit. Experiment with what feels good. Finding space, uncurling a little bit. Keep that right shoulder grounded. Option to look over to the right side of the room. Inhale, bring your knees back in towards your chest. And then exhale to drop them over to the right side. Lowering your knees here, keeping your knees parallel with your hips. And maybe extending your shins and your legs out to find more space. Keep that left shoulder grounded, an option to look over to your left fingertips. Close the eyes here. Take a couple of breaths. Inhaling to find that energy, that breath traveling down your spine and into your low back. Exhaling to twist maybe a little deeper. And then bring your knees back into your chest. And we'll finish it off here in a supine savasana or in child's pose, whatever feels best. But if you want to grab that towel or that blanket that you had, if you want to send your legs straight out, so there's an option to just stay here with the knees bent and let your feet out wide and your knees just kind of fall into center. That feels really good for my low back. Another option is if you want to extend your legs, you can bring that pillow or that blanket or bolster underneath your knees to help elevate your knees a little. And that gives you a little bit of space to move through your low back so it doesn't feel as tight, and it might help you feel more comfortable while laying on the ground. And then if you are in child's pose, you can also use this pillow or this mat or this pillow or this blanket or towel to put underneath your chest. Your knees can come wide or knees can touch, sending your hips towards your heels. And then just resting over this, letting your forehead rest onto the mat. Take a couple of breaths. And you can stay here for as long as you'd like, feeling the benefits of your practice, tuning into your body, finding what feels good. Do you notice any differences from when you first started your practice, your class? And I'll leave you here, yogis. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next time. Namaste.